Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
The OnCourse podcast is an IVM production, and if you enjoy this podcast, we suggest you try The Seen and the Unseen. Hosted by journalist Amit Verma, the show discusses and dissects a specific public policy every week. Check it out.
You're listening to the OnCourse podcast.
Hi everyone, welcome to the OnCourse podcast. OnCourse is a creative and alternate education company that aims to bridge the gap between formal classroom education and real-world skills. We offer a range of programs from short skill-based courses to test prep to application assistance for those who are looking to study abroad. My name is Alisha Mashruwala and I'm the CEO and co-founder at OnCourse. And today we have a guest speaker from OnCourse. We have Senior Associate and Law Specialist Amaya Raheja. Hi Amaya, how's everything going?
It's good.
Okay, so I think today what we're going to talk about is a little bit in terms of law, what the field entails, what you would do to study law in India, what you do to study law abroad. So just to start, tell us a little bit about what law is and what are the things you could eventually do with a degree in law.
So, law can be divided into two broad areas. One is corporate law and the second is litigation. So, corporate lawyers essentially deal with areas such as mergers and acquisitions, tax law, contracts, torts, and those sort of areas. They don't really go to court. Litigation, on the other hand, is when you work to settle legal disputes before a judge or a jury. So litigation lawyers are the ones who, are running in and out of court. So that's the main essential difference between these two broad areas of law. And you do often choose what you want to specialize in, whether it's corporate or litigation. And even within corporate, you can, specialize in private equity or banking law or, IP law. So that's something you can, take a call on later on in your career as well.
And I guess that's something that most people will realize as they do internships or any kind of work experience as well.
So it's good to kind of experiment while you are studying to get a sense of what are the different avenues and what you particularly enjoy. And then you can go on to specialize in that field, either working in a niche firm or working, in a particular department within a law firm, and maybe going on to do a master's degree in a very specialized or niche area of law.
Absolutely. And so for anyone who seems to be kind of wanting to prepare to get into law in the future, so say someone is in grade 9 or grade 10, what kind of subjects are they meant to take in their classes that they're doing, maybe in the 11th and 12th grade? Is there any specific requirement?
There's no specific requirement per se, but it's always better to have subjects that, do link closely to law, and we call them as, pre-law subjects. So this would be subjects like English, history, politics, international relations or political science, these subjects which kind of give you an idea of, how maybe the judicial system works, and also helps you gain a good command over your language and communication skills, because that's essential when you're becoming a lawyer.
Okay. And kind of going forward, so again, say I'm in 10th grade or 11th grade, what is the process of applying to a program in India to become a lawyer eventually?
So in India, there are national law colleges, which if you do choose to apply to those particular colleges, you will have to give an exam, which is known as the CLAT. So the CLAT exam essentially will test things like your English skills, your general knowledge, elementary mathematics, legal aptitude, and logical reasoning. So it has these 5 sections. Ideally, you have to prep for this exam, and based on how you score in it, you get a ranking on the basis of which they allocate you to a particular national law college in the country. So that's the process for the national law colleges. If you do wish to apply to maybe a private institution, like let's say Symbiosis or Jindal Law, you will have to give an entrance exam, which is decided by the university. Otherwise, if you're opting to go with a government college like GLC or KC College, you will have to give maybe a specific entrance that they decide to have, which they might be introducing. But the main criteria for those colleges is your cutoff. So your grade 12 exam results is what matters the most.
So essentially, for anyone who wants to get into law, they need to realize that in grade 11, it's important for them to start at least getting an idea of what the CLAT exam entails and sort of how they're going to prepare for it.
So they need to know which law colleges they're targeting and accordingly focus on either, their college grades or the CLAT or the specific entrance for a particular university.
Right. And like you said, I think government law colleges are now potentially planning to introduce an exam as well. In the past, they never had one, but I think it's just possibly a way to streamline the entire process or the structure.
Yes. Yeah.
And how is law structured? So once you've got into a law program, how is the actual program structured over here?
So in India, law is a 5-year undergraduate degree. Your first 2 years, you study pre-law subjects. So you would do subjects like history, political science, civics, understanding the legislative system of India and those kinds of subjects, English, and then after 2 years of doing these pre-law subjects, you would delve into the actual legal, subjects like contract law and property law and, criminal law and civil law and those kinds of areas within the law. If you choose to, do your undergraduate degree in, let's say, something else, like let's say you want to do a BCom or a BA, you still have the option of pursuing law after your 3-year undergraduate degree. In that case, law would then be a 3-year postgraduate degree that you would do. So it would be a 3+3 program.
So the 2+3 option is sort of the first one for those who are sure about the field.
Yes.
And then I guess the 3+3 becomes...
in case you want to do law after you want to get a degree in another
area of specialization. So I'm sure you've worked with a lot of kids who are interested in law and who are planning law. Which one do you feel like is more popular? Do most of them go in for the 2+3 or do a lot of them do the 3+3 program as well?
So the 2+3 is quite popular because, it saves you a year. So if you are extremely sure, it's 5 years versus, 6 years, and it allows you to enter into the workforce a lot earlier. So students do kind of opt for that more. The 3+3 program is more popular among students who kind of have a more of a late realization that, okay, law is a field that I want to get into and, it's something I want to pursue.
Great. And what are the good colleges for law in India?
So the best law college is the National Law College in Bangalore, which is NLS Bangalore. And apart from that, there's also NALSA in Hyderabad and there's NUJS in Kolkata. So all of these are the top 3, I would say, in terms of the national law schools. But also GLC in Bombay is extremely good. ILS in Pune is extremely good. So these government colleges are also very well recognized and have good law programs.
So the government colleges, from what I understand and what we also see a lot at OnCourse with students coming in and who are studying law over there, is that they do get to start work fairly early during the school year as well?
Yes. So ideally, they start interning in their 3rd year itself. So once they are exposed to the law subjects and the law field in their 3rd year, they do start doing a lot of internships, not only during their vacation time, but also, during, the university period, because the hours are flexible enough to allow you to kind of pursue an internship for the second half of your day. So they do get exposed to the practical aspects very, very early on, which is an advantage, you could say, of studying in, government law college or an ILS as opposed to a national law college in which you can only intern in the holiday period.
Right. So I guess both of them have their pros and cons in that sense.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll take a really short break and we'll be back to continue the conversation.
Every film has a hero, heroine, villain, and songs. But what makes a film truly memorable are those great characters like Pappu Pejha, Gabbar Singh, Mogambo, Calendar, and several others like that. Join me every week as I sit down to talk to brilliant actors who have played some of the most memorable characters in Indian film history. This is Bollywood Scene Stealers. Tune into a new episode every Monday on iTunes, SoundCloud, Audioboom, the IVM podcast app, or any other podcast apps you like.
Welcome back, everyone. Amaya, back in conversation. So like we were talking about, we've got an idea of what law is like in India. So what about kids who want to go abroad to study law? Is that possible? If so, is the US an option? Is the UK an option? What makes the most sense?
So with the US, they don't have an undergraduate law option. If you do want to pursue law in the US, you will have to do an undergraduate degree in pre-law subjects and major in something like international relations or political science or history, and then go on to pursue a 3-year law degree after your undergraduate degree, which is known as your JD program. However, in case you do want to come back to India and practice law, this is not the most advisable route because, India has its own set of restrictions in terms of, who they allow to practice, and they don't really allow students who have studied in different countries to come back, and it is quite a tedious process. So in case you do want to keep that option of coming back to India open, the US is really, not very advisable.
So the first 4 years, which is undergraduate degree, is not even linked to law. It's essentially just pre-law, liberal arts kind of programs that you're going for.
Yes.
And what about the UK then?
With the UK, it is easier to come back and practice. So UK does have an undergraduate law program, which is a 3-year program. So you would be doing your LLB for 3 years. In case you do want to, come back to practice in India after, your 3-year LLB, you would have to come to India and complete a 2-year clerkship, either with, a barrister or a solicitor or with a law firm. Once you complete that 2-year clerkship, you would have to give your conversion exam with the Bar Council of India, which will then allow you to, practice in India. So that's the process as of now, in case you do want to study in a college in the UK. But you have to make sure that it is a college that is recognized by the Bar Council of India, and it's one that will allow you to come back and give that conversion exam.
So that still ends up being about 5 years at the end of it then, because the first 3 years would go into just studying it in the UK.
Yes.
So for those who do want to apply for law programs in the UK, and I know you studied law in the UK as well, what do they have to do? What do they need to do to prepare for an application for law in the UK?
So essentially in the UK, the first and most important aspect of your application will be your grades. So they will look at your 10th grade final results and they will look at your 12th grade predicted scores. Apart from your academics, a lot of UK colleges require you to give an entrance exam, which is known as the LNAT. So the LNAT is the Law National Aptitude Test. Again, it's a 2-hour 15-minute exam where they will test your reasoning and logic skills. So there are 2 sections, Section A and Section B. Section A, you will have to answer multiple choice questions on 12 argumentative passages, and Section B is an essay section where you have to again display your logic and reasoning skills by arguing a particular side on an essay. So that's the LNAT, but not all UK colleges need it. So you do have the option of also applying to those colleges with just purely your grades.
So which are the colleges that need the LNAT, or are there a few colleges that don't need the LNAT?
So colleges that do need the LNAT are colleges like UCL, King's, Durham, and colleges that don't would be colleges like Warwick, SOAS, LSE. So these are the top few that need it and don't need it.
So for a student who wants to apply for a law program in the UK, they need to kind of take a call in terms of whether they're going to take the LNAT or not.
Yes.
So when you take the LNAT, you typically do it in grade 12 around October, November point of time?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And so you studied law in the UK. So tell us a little bit about your experience in terms of what program you studied and how you kind of...
I did a 3-year LLB in Warwick, and then I topped it up with a master's in corporate law in LSE. So my 3-year program, I studied subjects like property law, tort law, contracts. These were the core essential subjects that you can't opt out of, but there are a lot of electives. So, I chose to study subjects like family law and child law and international law because those are things that I was more interested in. So they do give you that flexibility in terms of, what area you would like to explore more than another, which is really, really good. And after which I decided to do my master's. Again, master's programs in the UK don't really require you to specialize. You can either do a general master's and, study the subjects you want to study, or you can do a more specialized one like, let's say, corporate law, where you then study subjects like insurance law and banking law and, competition law and those kind of subjects related more to the corporate field.
So for anyone who is planning to go abroad to study law versus potentially even considering staying back in India, what do you think are the advantages of studying law here in itself versus, say, going abroad?
So the advantage of studying law here in itself is, number one, you don't have to go through that process of the conversion exam. It's very streamlined. Secondly, you're exposed to the laws of your own country, which you would then, require knowledge of to, practice. Plus, you get that chance to do a lot of internships provided you are in, a government law college or an ILS. So you get practical exposure very, very early on. The only disadvantage I would say is sometimes the quality of education might be a little bit lacking. It may not be up to, mark or standard, which studying abroad will, kind of provide you that, those basic fundamental, writing skills or research skills or reading skills, which are also very essential.
And for those who are sort of younger students who are looking to potentially study law in the future, what kind of skills do you feel like they should start developing in, say, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade?
So the most essential skill that a lawyer needs to have is to be a good communicator, and not only someone who communicates well verbally, but also, written communication. So I think, what you do need to start working on is reading. You need to be able to read a lot, pick up, important points and concepts. You need to be able to reproduce what you're reading in a very, logical manner. That's where the written communication comes in. And the third thing is also you need to be very confident with your oral communication, and you should, try to participate in things like debates and MUNs to kind of brush up on those verbal communication skills as well.
Okay. And, just kind of out of curiosity, I know top colleges in the UK like Oxford and Cambridge. How hard is it to get into those colleges for law?
It is very, very difficult. It's, they are the most competitive programs. So you do need a near perfect kind of academic record and, that sort of thing. And you also need to have enough kind of exposure, let's say, to the field of law by, having done some internships in school and experience with debates or MUNs. And they do look at those kinds of things as well to make sure you're an all-rounded, applicant.
And I guess when you're writing your statement of purpose, it's important to showcase this knowledge as well.
Yes, that's where you would showcase, what kind of books you've read related to law, what kind of activities you've participated in school that, have brushed up on, your communication skills. Have you done any kind of internship or job shadowing that exposes you to the legal field? And that all comes to in your statement of purpose, which is very, very important.
And sort of a last question as well is when people who studied in the US say they do their liberal arts for 4 years and then they decide they want to do law after that and come back to India, are they allowed to apply for the 3-year undergraduate
Yes, that's
program?
completely okay. And a lot of students do kind of take that route. So they go abroad, do their 4-year liberal arts and realize, okay, I still want to practice law. Then they would come back, do your 3-year program and then start practicing law in India. So that's completely acceptable and, a way to look at it as well.
And given that we're getting close to, I guess, application season for those, who want to go to law school next year, any advice for current grade 11 or 12th grade?
Just work hard on your grades. Number one, that's very, very important. And you need to have a clear picture on, which country you're applying to, what kinds of colleges you're looking at. So you can plan out, which exam you need to give and when and which exam you need to prep for. As, every college has their own set of requirements and, things that need to be completed before you apply.
Great. Thanks so much, Amaya. It's been great having you.
Thanks.
You guys, everyone who wants more information or if you have any follow-up questions, you can either email us on info@oncourseglobal.com. You can check out our website, www.oncourseglobal.com, or you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, both.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Sorry to say, but there's been a slight delay due to the apocalypse having suddenly begun. As you can see, there's death, destruction, and chaos taking place all around us. But don't you worry, food and drinks will be served shortly, and I would recommend checking out
IVM Podcasts
to get some of your favorite Indian podcasts. We'll keep you going till this whole thing blows over. Thank you.